I've looked into how all of this AI image generation works because I was curious.
The technology behind it, or
Yes, yes. Like how easy
Oh,
it is
okay.
to try it out, how much resources it actually required for a PC to work, and overall, for completely free, how much choice do you have? And the answer is a lot. The way it works for the images is that there are ways to have like an interface, and there's like right now like there's like 3 different methods to set this up for you. So I went with ComfyUI, and that gives you like a full-on customizable interface of placing down nodes, connecting them with cables. It's kind of like a game interface. First, you have like an engine that will provide the base style, and then you have descriptions that you give, and then it generates data and turns that data into images. As an example image, you see up here it says LoRa. LoRa's are basically themed suggestions. Basically, you just raw feed images until it creates idea of a character, and when you add the LoRa's into the description, there's a strength that you can adjust. You can mix and match different LoRa's to get different ideas and combine them. People use this for memes. People use this for creating different.
Stuff.
There's a lot of that. I had to create an account to download some stuff, and the amount of text that I had to block.
Look, man, there's nothing better than some good fake titty.
If it was just that, I would have no complaints.
That does remind me of one of the worst decisions I've made. And that's to look at the Monster Hunter Nexus page.
They really put the monster into Hunter, didn't they? You can also use a LoRa in the meantime to have like a different background. Additionally, you can one of the other things that I didn't expect to find is that there are so many extensions created to ComfyUI just alone that if you download the manager extension to it, it pretty much opens up the possibility to download every single extension that was created to ComfyUI that are shared on GitHub. I've also seen a few tutorials where pretty much based on one single image, you can create a character sheet, and you can then use that character sheet to train a LoRa. So based on one image, you can create your own character that you can use.
A lot of people in Yodayo used to just make their own LoRa's. That was the best site for like just casual AI usage. The image generation was pretty good. The chats were also great, but dudes were like, we don't just not want any NSFW on this side. We also want literally nothing. No fights, no nothing.
I mean, just for fun, I think it's okay. Like, I'm saying this as someone who has been on the traditional drawing style side of things. I've been doing digital art as well, here and there. I'm not perfect at either of them.
Way better than I'll ever be, so.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's a bit demoralizing when it takes me, or it would have taken me 4 hours to draw, a pencil drawing. In this, it's like you just optimize a prompt, and in my case, like I'm still using 2060 with 6 gigabytes, and like the only limiter really here is how much free RAM you have. If I'm not going overboard with the settings, it's about a minute to generate an image, and it can be 3D CG, it can be traditional. If I don't like it, I can just again optimize the prompt again or hit retry.
I guess that is kind of the problem. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think everyone sort of had a little phase where they're like kind of curious to like prod about with AI and see like what it's all about and stuff like that. Because
yeah, of course.
even I've toyed around with it at a point, but like, yeah, I mean, at least from like the artist point of view, it'll never take away like obviously the satisfaction of being able to make like a good piece that you can be proud in.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like you're not really gonna be proud of like some words you spat into a computer. Yeah, I mean, one of the big limitations though with all of this AI stuff is that it only works on stuff that already exists. Yeah, I don't know where these people are getting their data from for the models and stuff that they provide, but yeah, obviously all of that data has to exist somewhere. Of course, there's been a lot of moral and legal questions asked about, what are the ethics of and legality of, sort of all of this AI generated art. But
DeviantArt comes to mind, especially for me, because that's a website that I used to use for a long time.
Same. I fucking love DeviantArt. Too bad it went to shit.
Yeah, that's a website that I used to use for a while because I absolutely loved how the entire site was laid out. Yes, it was full of NSFW stuff, but
Yeah.
to me that just kind of
What is-
says that there's more freedom to upload stuff and you can just ignore it.
yeah, I mean, what isn't these days filled with NSFW?
I mean, if you
Um,
enjoy both things, it's a godsend.
Like, to come clear, like last time I mentioned that I play Senran Kagura, one of the VTubers that I have been following, he wasn't really even a VTuber back then. Like, the term wasn't really that spread out, but it's Project Melody.
I think I've heard people talk about. Isn't that the like slightly sus one?
She's
I
very
forget-
sus.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I've been just like watching her highlight videos on YouTube, and they were well edited, funny, and stuff like that. And then over time, VTubing became more widespread, and yeah.
Mm.
There's one very funny clip about her on YouTube. Her coworker is trying to explain to each other what her other job is without telling it because one of them was live streaming at the time. So they called it yoga.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, I think she's finishing up right now. Everything sounds weird. No. Yeah, she said she's coming.
I think I do remember seeing a thing that I remember there was a funny trend that was going around where it was like, like people who draw like NSFW out on Twitter, people like Lamau, you're so pathetic drawing this shit. And then they'd just be like, yeah, okay, but have you seen how much money you get from doing this? And it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that if you stick to just safe for work stuff, you, like, without a doubt, you get less people approaching you to draw stuff. But once you open up to NSFW,
Yeah, you might have to
Yeah.
open a second Twitter account.
But
it's questionable now though with AI stuff, like how many people actually feel like contacting people.
Oh,
that,
there's still
but-
loads of people.
But
I think if
yeah,
anything, the AI wave has actually, if anything, only helped give more exposure
Yeah.
to commissioners.
Yeah.
I think I've heard from like some people that like, they have to put like boundaries as to what they'll accept to preserve their sanity, because otherwise people
Yeah,
are.
because
Yeah.
otherwise some people are just
Some people are a bit too freaky for their own good.
now draw her getting an education.
no. That's about it. I draw the line.
Yeah, like going back to DeviantArt, like that's one website that I used to use a lot. I uploaded my in-game screenshots there. I've uploaded my drawings there, like my traditional drawings and my digital drawings. And then one day when this AI boom was a big thing, they decided that, you know what? Without asking anyone for consent, we're gonna train our AI on the entirety of our website. So
Hell,
everything that was uploaded there, every traditional,
Yeah.
every digital, every sketch, everything that was uploaded there,
Yeah,
that
Rico,
was
it's as disgusting as it sounds.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it because there was that whole wave, wasn't there, where people just like deleted everything and just posted up like no AI image.
And they did it twice.
Yeah.
They did it twice.
Yeah, like it wasn't bad enough the first time you did it.
I mean, if they're gonna do it, they're obviously gonna try doing it again. So it's like, at that point, it's better to just pack your bags and move on. Because when like companies bend the knee to the community these days, most of the time they're not really. They're just gonna do it to like quell the discourse, and then they're gonna try it again at a later date and hope people are gonna be more okay with it. Sometimes they're very sneaky about it and will do it really subtly. Like they'll do the same thing, but just over a long period of time and very slowly, so that people don't even notice that it's gonna happen, and then it's like, bam, haha, we tricked you.
I do feel like though that with everything AI related, it's not the tools that are the problem, but how people are using it. And
Oh
how...
no, yeah, like there is nothing inherently wrong. I mean,
I
it's
think that
it's
can
like
go. I think that can go for a lot of things in history.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
anything, it's the same thing with emulators, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
emulators themselves, there's nothing inherently illegal about all emulators. The main legal challenge in that field is where people are sourcing their games from. And, it's the same for AI, it's AI models. There's nothing inherently wrong with an AI model, but where you're getting the data that you're feeding it from is the problem.
And how what is it? How open are you about admitting that you use AI? And like in what aspects do
The
you
thing
use
is,
AI?
I don't think anybody would be like so animus. Is that the word? Towards people saying they use AI if AI itself wasn't so mishandled.
If I just think about that, the amount of assistant tools that I use just for YouTube alone, like you know how YouTube is like, oh, now you need to specify it if it's like, if it's how is it said? If it's synthetic or not synthetic content or whatever the wording is on it. If it's like author-owned, if it's machine-made or not. But like you think about it, I use an upscaler for the thumbnails at times because I
Upscalers are pretty based.
like either the game doesn't have a photo mode in it or one of the frames from the video would be enough for a thumbnail. It's just like 720p on YouTube still to this day. Even if you upload it in 1080p for the thumbnail, it's gonna get downscaled to 720.
Yeah.
So like you don't need much detail in it. So there are many cases where I'm like just upscaling one frame from the video and having it like 3 or 4 times the size and just trim it out to that specific part, and it's good enough for a thumbnail. You compare that to all of the clickbait thumbnails out there, and it's like, which one is more evil?
Yeah.
For audio, I've been using Ultimate Vocal Removal for many of the audios to like either remove the background noise or clean up stuff. The previous big talk we had in December, Craig's audio was all over the place, and I had to use that tool to separate it out. And if you watch that edited version, you can barely hear the background anymore.
It's all down to the person using it and how they use it, really. How ethical it is at the end of the day. That being said, I do think AI is massively overblown, especially looking at it from business point of view. There's 2 reasons I think this. One, in some cases, it's just not ready, and I'm not sure if there ever will be. For some examples, unless you're willing to put a lot of work into train your own models on very specific things.
Yeah.
And 2, some things you really don't need AI for. Instead of using AI, you would instead just use a tool, some kind of automated tool. There are lots of things out there that aren't AI that can just automate things. But now everyone's got so hopped up on the AI buzzword that basically
everything is AI.
automation is AI now, and it's like, no, it's really not. But the problem is they, in some cases, they want actual AI embedded into these automation tools, and it brings literally no benefit to the automation tool. The automation tool does exactly what it needs to do. A couple of weeks ago, obviously, as I said, I went out to London for like a work thing, and we were at the IBM offices, and one of the fancy things they were talking about was I don't know if anyone's heard of like quantum computing. It's like insanely complicated because it's essentially how do we take quantum physics and make a computer out of it? But it is a thing, and there are working like quantum computers out there. One of the big points the woman was highlighting was that like quantum is not going to replace conventional computing. You could, but it would be really impractical to have it replace conventional computing. It's kind of a waste to use a quantum computer to run a calculator, for example. But yeah, it's like, yeah, they're like, hey, it's not gonna like replace standard computing. It's gonna work alongside. Like there's gonna in like data centers and stuff, they will install what they refer to as QPUs, like quantum processing units, that can be like leveraged to do shit that only a quantum computer could handle. I feel like that can apply to AI as well. AI can be useful, and it can bring some benefit into some fields. But I feel like there are a lot of cases where there really is no point and no need for AI, regardless of how much you want to shovel it into something.
Yeah, and let's say you build a hemp. I just go with a simple example. Let's say you build up a YouTube channel for yourself where you have one host that reads up your videos, and then all of a sudden AI boom happens, and then you replace the narrator with an AI read up.
Well, but the AI voice doesn't sound as good.
That's the point.
That's the point.
Yeah.
You build up the quality of your channel, and people expect
so hard.
and people are expecting a certain quality, and then once you quickly ditch what works to something that might be new or might cost less, people will see why you did that, and they might not like it, they might not stick around.
Oh yeah,
you will damage your channel.
And I guess an interesting spin-off case, I mean, sometimes hiring a narrator in to do a voiceovers for you can have a similar effect, ironically. It was like that Seppi guy before he started doing the voiceovers himself. I think a lot of people tried to complain to him that he was using AI, but he's like, no, I just got a friend to do it. But like, you know, obviously the friend didn't have the same passion and sort of emotion towards these topics, so the delivery sounded a little flat and generic.
To me, it just kind of sounded way too professional, way too, what is it, strict.
I don't think he really sounded American, but he sounded more American, I guess, than how the guy actually sounds.
To me, the one thing that was a bit of a turn-off in that is just the audio quality difference.
Yeah, it is painful when you go and watch some new content from some people, and you're like, yeah, this is great, and you go back and watch some of that old content with like when they had like really shitty equipment. It's like, oh no, this.
You can relate to that, don't you?
Oh yeah.
The one middle ground though with AI voice, I feel, is when someone either cannot produce quality voice, cannot afford voice actor, but he also has like a really strict time schedule for his content, or wants to keep the animosity up.
I don't know. I think strict schedule is not a good one, because with content creation, strict schedules are usually self-imposed. Unless you work for a stupid company, then that's a problem for the stupid company.
Mod reviews. You kind of end up doing either the weekly stuff or uploading one mega review in like a month or so, or 2 months, or few months.
I think you eventually have to reach a point with that where you have to say, this is unsustainable. I'm just gonna pick out what I actually like from this.
I know like 3 cases of mod reviewers where they had to resort to AI to have
Oof.
voiceover for videos. And one is because the area they lived in, like they couldn't record their own sound, but it's a noisy city, lives in an apartment, not a good noise cancellation on that stuff, and wants to stick to the weekly upload stuff. The other one is the person has very strong stuttering.
If there's like a legitimate problem that makes it really hard to do proper recordings, then sure, like it can be an alternative. I'll never really enjoy watching content that uses like AI voices, but like if it's like your only option, I guess it's better than nothing in
But
some cases.
that's the case. Like both of these examples, they trained the models based on their own voice. They recorded their own voice, sampled that through, and created their own model and used that.
Sometimes it's a bit off.
Yeah, it's
The
like
voice doesn't have like emotion, such.
yeah, it's like code drivers in rally games, for example. They'll give pretty much the exact same call out for the same pace note. It's the same thing every time. I think Dirt Rally 2, I think they tried with Phil to give him sort of like a range of emotions. So like if like you were a bit on the edge, he'd be like a bit more panicky. He'd have like a bit of a higher strung note. And like, but if you were just like cruising, he'd be a bit more calm. I don't know if there was like much more calm, but like I know there were like times where like he would be a little more panicky if you like sort of were hanging off the edge. And like a lot of other rally games, it's just kind of the same every time. Is perfectly fine for the games. It's obviously never gonna truly recreate having someone sat in a seat next to you reading out pace notes.